There, it's Lara here with your weekly Witchy Wednesday astrology forecast. This time for the week of March 27th to April 2nd, 2019. Welcome. Thanks for being here. How's Mercury Retrograde treating you? I have a lot to say on that subject today. But before I do that, I have a question for you. And I'm wondering. Well, first of all, let me say, I have been giving a lot of thought to how I do these videos and how I present information. And I've been considering that perhaps what I may do moving forward is continue to do these weekly videos on Wednesdays, but do a more general overview and then do the actual, horoscope piece for each sign in a written format and have you, if you're interested, go check that out at my website instead. And the reason for this, well, there's a few reasons. One is because oftentimes I have to do multiple takes of these videos, right? Because the storage space runs out on my camera, on my phone. I do have a video camera that I'm still working on, finding some time to learn how to use. But really, the thing is as it stands, the videos are usually about 45 minutes long. And then if they happen to cut off for whatever reason, I have to start again. And I don't know, you tell me, is 45 minutes a long time for you to commit, right? Would you be more likely to commit if these were a little bit shorter? Or if I went into greater detail, this is the other thing that happens. Sometimes I feel like I'd really like to go into greater detail on certain things, but I don't because I want to save that time to speak to each sign. And the thing is, I write these notes out anyway, so I practically have the written piece done anyway. And so I'm just kind of thinking in terms of, energy exchange and how things work for me and for you. I'm just kind of wondering what you would think about that. And let me know your thoughts. I'm curious. If that would work for you. Or if you just, really prefer it this way, or if you've got some other idea. I don't know. But I'm curious. Ultimately, I'll make the decision. But I'm curious about your input. And I'm not making any hard and fast decision in this moment because Mercury is still retrograde. And so it's not quite time to be doing that just yet, right? On that note, this has been a particularly trying Mercury retrograde for a lot of folks. And it's interesting because what I've noticed, right? Mercury retrograde in Pisces, the magical mystery tour kind of vibe we've had going on. And as I've mentioned before, it's easier to deal with this energy when you can be more go with the flow, maybe engage in some, healthy escapism, use this energy for creativity and, resting, maybe connecting with your, spirituality, that sort of thing. Not so great for following a plan or, a linear kind of path, and not so great for mental clarity. That's like, if you're relying on the facts kind of thing and your logic, better for trusting your intuition. So how things have played out for me is that in the beginning of Mercury retrograde, we took a trip, right? And so things worked out very well. We didn't have any of those Mercury retrograde glitches in terms of travel or anything like that. It was a really nice escape from the daily grind, from quote unquote reality, right? And then when we came back, and it was time to get back into a routine and be focused on the day to day, that's when the glitches and the bumps and the frustration and all of that kind of stuff seemed to rear its ugly head. So it just goes to show that, you know, if you're able to do the Pisces thing with this energy, I think that it can be a little less frustrating. But even in terms of how we've been physically feeling over here, you know, all of us have been a little bit off, a little emotional, a little sensitive in many ways, like not just emotionally, but even physically, like, you know, my son's not feeling well. I've got like skin issues, stupid eye thing that's been going on, you know, just various things like that. So feeling really tired, lethargic. And so this Mercury retrograde has really been encouraging us to slow down, right? And to kind of really go inward, as I've said before. Mercury going to the underworld to retrieve the messages from our unconscious, from the unseen world. That sort of thing has been a focus right now. And, you know, then on the shadow side, lots of deception, delusion, perhaps unhealthy escapism. Hopefully that's not been the case for you, but it is one way this can play out. So I'd be curious to know how things have played out for you. It's not over yet, but this too shall pass. And it's ultimately for a reason, right? That this is happening for us. We are being offered some very deep wisdom here, and that whatever wisdom that we have gathered over the course of Mercury retrograde, we will soon be able to use to move forward with more clarity, right? More momentum. And so if you're sitting there thinking, well, I haven't, you know, no wisdom has come to me, maybe that's because you've been too full speed ahead and trying to kind of push your way through this time when that's not what's wanted. And so maybe if you can take that opportunity to reflect on these last few weeks and go, what has this been about? What messages have been trying to get my attention? You know, and what can I do with this information as Mercury moves direct? So we still got Neptune right there beside Mercury. So that is lending to the sense of, you know, perhaps confusion, fogginess, dreaminess. It can be really great for dreams, imagination, that sort of thing. But it can have us still feeling a little bit like there's this veil, right, that still has yet to lift. And so Mercury is going to go direct on Thursday. But it takes a while to build momentum and to move past that ground that it's already covered before it started going retrograde. So this doesn't all happen overnight. We will get a nice boost here from Venus moving into Pisces, where Mercury is. And that's happening that happened on Tuesday, right? The 26th. And that Venus will be in Pisces until mid-April. And so this is kind of coming in and smoothing things over in that Pisces area of our chart where Mercury has been retrograde, and putting a little salve on things for us and injecting a little harmony and beauty there, giving us a little boost. And then we've also got Mars entering Gemini on Sunday the 31st. And Mars will be there until the 15th. And so that can have us kind of off in all directions with it being in Gemini, as opposed to what's been happening with Mars and Taurus. Taurus is the slow and the steady, and Mars can get a little uncomfortable in there because it just wants to go and is bumping up against obstacles or feeling like it's got, you know, a brick hanging from its ankle. And so this can contribute to that feeling of lethargy, or this feeling of like, I want to move forward, but I can't. And I, you know, it's just not time yet. Just not time. We're getting there. We're getting there. you know, technically it's spring, but you never know that if you looked out my window right now around here, because we've got the winter that will not quit. So this is the physical representation of, you know, we're not quite ready yet. We've still got some thawing to do. So today we've got the moon in Capricorn, and then moving into Aquarius on Friday and Pisces on Monday. And the moon is waning, in the waning phase right now, right? So the moon was full, that full moon in Libra that we had. And now the energies of the moon are waning. And so that is one more piece of that puzzle that's lending to that feeling of, you know, lethargy, of not quite getting started with the new just yet, even though we did have the equinox, right? And the sun has moved into Aries. But I think when we see the new moon happening in Aries on the 5th, that will be the real kind of feeling of, okay, now things are starting to pick up some momentum. And that will continue from there. So what else do I want to say to you? I think just a little bit in terms of, you know, Mars moving into Gemini on Sunday, that can see a lot more flexibility in terms of our actions. Like, we're doing a lot of different things with Mars and Gemini. And Mars and Gemini is like the direct expression of our words, right? We can have a lot of things going on all at once, a lot of action on a number of things happening, more variety in our communications and the exchange of information, lots of, you know, mental activity, maybe taking some more risks in terms of our communications or decision making. That's all well and good. Just don't scatter yourself too thin. Try to focus your energy on what's most important. You know, first things first kind of thing, because Gemini likes to be all over the map. And with Mars there, it can be a little bit frenetic and we're not really getting anything of depth done. So just be mindful of that, and be mindful of the possibility of being a little bit aggressive in terms of your communications with Mars and Gemini as well. You know, just watch your tongue. Think before you speak. Don't blurt things out that you will later regret, that sort of thing. Okay, and of course this will impact each of us depending on where this is all happening in our own personal chart, right? And if you have your chart, you'll know that. But as I do these general forecasts, I will speak to each rising sign. And that is always the most accurate when we're talking about a general forecast like this. But if you're curious about your own chart and you don't have it and you don't know it yet, you can reach out to me for a reading. And the link to my website is below, as always. You can reach out through another social media platform as well, Facebook or Instagram. Let me show you the chart quickly before we move on to going through the signs, because I have quite a bit to say to each sign, so I want to save time for that. So here we've got, you know, Pluto conjuncting the South Node here in Capricorn. A lot of things from the past can be coming up for us, particularly with the Mercury Retrograde influence. That's another piece of the puzzle. Saturn's there, of course. The moon is currently there. We've got Jupiter in Sagittarius. There is Venus, just moved into Pisces. Like I said, to put some salve on what's been going on as far as the Pisces area of our chart, with Mercury being retrograde there, still conjunct Neptune. And then we got Chiron, 2 degrees Aries, still close to the sun at 6 degrees Aries. We've got Uranus at 1 degree Taurus. We've got Mars in Taurus, preparing to move into Gemini on the 31st. And then we've got the North Node in Cancer right there. So that's the chart for this week, for Wednesday specifically. And I'm going to jump right in here and speak to each sign because I don't want to run out of time. So I'm going to start with Pisces, because Pisces, Mercury is moving direct, right, in your sign. There's been a lot going on in your sign. So I'm going to start with you. And we've got Mercury moving direct in your first house and Venus entering your first house as well. Hallelujah. So This can see some gradual clarity and momentum building in terms of yourself, right? Who you are out in the world. So if you're like been thinking about rebranding yourself in some way, this is a positive influence. You can start to take action and see improvements there. This can see you better able to communicate your identity to the outside world, right? People can see you more clearly and understand you better with Mercury moving direct. And then Venus in your sign can make you more magnetic, more attractive, have you feeling better about yourself and your image in general. It can allow you to have more compassion and self-love, like compassion for yourself, right? And come across as more compassionate as well. It can also be a good time for starting new things with this first house energy as well, particularly in regards to, again, the self, those Venusian things, forward momentum with Mercury moving direct there. And then Mars is moving into your fourth house. So that is about more action and drive and activity regarding your family and your home. First and foremost. So maybe doing a lot of things with your family and a lot of activity in the home with or regarding family, or a lot of activity in the home, like on home improvements, spring cleaning, decorating, renovations, that kind of thing. Maybe if you work from home, you're doing a lot of work on projects from home too, right? A lot of work from home is happening. And this could also see you taking some kind of action around your sense of emotional security, which is also the fourth house. So all of that is for you, Pisces. And we're going to move on to Aquarius now. Aquarius, Mercury is moving direct and Venus is joining Mercury in your second house. So this is increased momentum and some clarity, around your resources. If things have been a little bit fuzzy and confusing there, right? Your resources, your finances, your material possessions, your self-worth, your values, what you see as important. There may be some decision making happening around these things. Like maybe some decisions have been delayed during Mercury retrograde, and you can get some clarity and momentum there. Maybe getting just a better grasp in general, right, of these things. What have you learned? Reflect on that. What have you learned in terms of these second house matters over the last few weeks? And with Venus moving in there, this can bring some more just general feel good vibe to that area. Some beauty, some, maybe attention on like spending money on beautifying in some way, even buying something, nice. This can be more harmony in terms of your resources and your values and your self-worth. So that influence is there until April 20th. And then you've got Mars, bringing more action and drive and courage to your fifth house. So children, hobbies, your creativity, how you have fun in the world. This is getting an injection of action from Mars. And so maybe like you're going to be on this creative spree, for example, right? Doing lots of creating, or just having the courage to put your creative work out there. Maybe doing a lot of activity with your kids, and if it could be your own kids, or like you coach a team or something like that. Or if you're a teacher, for example, or just putting a lot of energy into enjoying life and the fun things and the pleasures in life. So don't overdo it with Mars there, but that can be good times. And then we're going to move on now to Capricorn. And Capricorn, we've got Mercury and Venus in your third house. So as Mercury moves direct, this is clarity, and momentum building in terms of your communications and the messages exchanged back and forth. and just thoughts, you know, ideas, that sort of thing. And this can involve the people in your direct environment, your community members, your peers, your siblings. Maybe there's been some confusion in this area. Even confusion around your daily commute in some way can fall into this category, and now that will gradually resolve. You're better able to articulate your message and to better grasp the messages that are coming to you from others around this time too. Maybe there has been some missing information, right, that surfaces and fills in the gaps and allows you a clearer picture of whatever has been going on. And then Venus will bring some harmony and gentleness into your communications as well over this time. Or you can even be communicating more about beauty and love and romance, that sort of thing. So that's Mercury, Venus. And then Mars for you, Capricorn, is moving into your 6th house. So that's bringing activity and drive and passion to your daily grind, right? So lots of different things vying for your attention on the day-to-day, taking on many things over the course of a day. Your routine can really amp up. Don't overdo it. You know, that's the best advice I can give you with Mars there. Just be mindful. Don't be trying to do too many things at once. This can also have you taking action to resolve some kind of health matter that's been going on for you, or embracing a new health regime, or and really doing a lot revolving around that. Or it can have you doing a lot in service to others, because the 6th house is also the house of service. So that's for you, Capricorn. And now we're going to move on to Sag and talk to Sagittarius about Mercury and Venus moving through the 4th house. So this can bring some clarity on the home front for you, Sag, with regards to your family, your place of living, your emotional foundations, right? Your sense of security, emotional security. There may be some new information that comes to light here. If communication with your family or whoever you consider family, like your tribe, has been fuzzy or confusing or just kind of off lately, then that can be improved now. If there's been some confusion around like your place of living, you know, some kind of real estate venture or just like home improvement or something like that, that can start to rectify now too. And Venus is coming in there and bringing more harmony, more beauty, more abundance even in terms of your home and your place of living. And that support is there for you until mid-April. And then Mars is entering your 7th house on the 31st. And that will see some increased activity in terms of your one-to-one relationships, right? So things can move really quickly in that department with Mars there. You might decide to take some kind of risk in terms of a one-to-one relationship. And that's all well and good. Just do it mindfully. You know, you can come across as being quite assertive in one-to-one relationships now. Assertive is good. Don't tip the scale to aggressive, right? This could be good also for like a business partnership. You know, a lot of activity in business partnerships. It's good energy for kind of being courageous and maybe approaching somebody that you've wanted to partner with, and coming across as quite confident and assertive. So that can be good as well, Sag. Moving on to Scorpio, Mercury and Venus will be in your 5th house, and Mercury moving direct there. So this has to do with your children. If there's been, you know, your children, any children you're associated with or work with, that's one of the things. So let's start there. If there's been some bumpiness, some confusion, some misinformation, miscommunication going on in that department, that can start to lift now. If things have just been generally off, right, it can start to resolve. Your creative pursuits can see some forward momentum now, if that's been a bit confusing. More communication can happen around those things. And you can get more maybe info that you were missing about those things as well, that can allow you to move forward. And then Venus there can add a boost to those things, right? More harmony with your kids or kids you work with, a boost to your creativity. You know, your creativity, like your creative self-expression can attract attention right now and feel more harmonious rather, and even be more lucrative at this time, Scorpio. And then Mars moving through your 8th house can see a lot of different things, but this can be like a boost to your investments in some way, like a tax return or something like that, or increased activity in that department that has to do with you maybe doing your taxes or dealing with an insurance company, or just more money coming to you or being paid out sometimes. You know, in terms of, but with Venus there, I can see this be, no, sorry, not Venus. With Mars there, I can see it being a lot of activity around those things, right? And but it could be like money that comes to you not through like your daily job kind of thing, right? It's money that comes to us in other ways other than that. And you can have some increased drive just to kind of get those things in order and get them done. This can also be a lot of activity around uncovering secrets or the depths, or like you know, you've been thinking about maybe doing some therapy, and so this can have you taking action in that department with Mars there. It can be greater drive for intimacy, right, as well. So like it can be like increased sex drive, literally, or it could be just this drive for intimate connection, because intimacy is not just about sex, right? And you know, so again, don't get caught up in power struggles with Mars in the 8th house. Be mindful of that. Assertive, not aggressive, right? Okay, so I think that's all for you, Scorpio, and I'm going to move on to Libra. Libra, Mercury's moving forward or moving direct, and Venus is joining in your 6th house. So this brings more clarity and momentum in terms of your daily grind, right? And your health matters as well. So if you felt like just like the day-to-day daily existence has been a bit confusing lately, or if you feel like you've been spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere, you know, you're talking, nobody's listening to you, nobody's hearing you, then the good news is you can see some improvement there over the next few weeks. And likewise, if you've had some kind of health issue that's been going on and that's been somewhat confusing, or there's been some miscommunication in terms of health matters, then that can be resolved now too. And with Venus, who is your ruler there, it can be, you know, can see some increased harmony just in general on the day-to-day, right? And balance and pleasure and attractiveness. So like you can just find yourself feeling better about the daily grind and your health than you have in a while, Libra. And so that can be, you know, quite nice. And then we've got Mars moving through your 9th house. So there can be a lot of activity and action around travel, like travel planning, or taking trips, or if you're a travel agent by chance, could be very busy. This can be about education. So you spending a lot of energy on school, particularly like a higher learning program, not so much like elementary school, but if you're designing a course or you're taking a course, a lot of action around that, around just general connecting with people who are different from you in some way, and even a lot of action around truth, you know, truth seeking, like your philosophy, your worldview, how you see things. There can be a lot of activity around those things. And, you know, so, you know, if you've got travel plans, you're going to be busy, I would say. So just don't try to spread yourself too thin. Moving on now to Virgo, we've got Mercury and Venus moving through your 7th house, right? And so as Mercury moves direct, this can bring some clarity to your one-to-one relationships and some forward momentum there. Maybe there's been some confusion between you and a significant other, or you and a close partnership like a business partner, and that can be resolved now. Maybe you've been wondering where you stand, right, in a partnership, or you're the one that's been giving off mixed signals potentially. Or maybe you've been feeling like you're not getting your message heard, and now that can, to the other person sort of thing, and that can be resolved now. Also, Venus brings some nice warm fuzzies to your one-to-one relationships over the next little while. Some love, some gentleness to that area of life, right? Just like beautifying your close relationships in some way. This can even literally be about you and a partner, whether that be a significant other or a business partner, focusing on beauty, on art, on Venusian things, right? If that happens to be your business kind of thing. So that's for you, Virgo. And now moving on to Leo, we've got Mercury and Venus in your 8th. So if there's been some confusion around your shared resources, for example, Leo, then you can get some kind of clarity and forward momentum there. And this can have to do with, if there's been some confusion around your taxes, for example, some fogginess there. You can kind of start to get some forward momentum and some clarity, like mortgages, taxes, inheritance, loans, dealing with insurance companies. All of that falls into that category. Pardon me. Also, if there's been some kind of confusion with an intimate relationship that's been at a bit of a stall, you can get some forward momentum as well with that. And some insight perhaps has been going on with this Mercury retrograde, a lot being dug up in the deep psyche, and things coming to light there to be dealt with. Some wisdom, right, gleaned. So Venus can boost that 8th house area right now too. So potentially gracing you with some kind of a payoff, maybe a tax return if you're lucky. A sense of harmony, love, and pleasure there too. And you potentially attracting other people's money in some way, which would be great, right? And then we've got Mars, Leo, moving through your 11th house, and that's bringing increased activity and drive in relation to group activities, right? So lots going on with friends, with organizations, with the collective in general. It can be a time of bringing more passion and taking action in terms of your long-range vision for the future too. So you can be driven to fulfill a dream, a long-range dream right now. Just don't be overly aggressive about it. Again, I will say assertive over aggressive is the way to go when it comes to Mars energy, right? And not being too scattered and all over the map. And particularly in terms of 11th house issues that I mentioned. Okay, moving on to Cancer. Cancer, we've got Mercury and Venus in your 9th house. So if there's been some confusion and some stalling around travel plans, around some kind of education, teaching, learning, a course, around publishing, around your view in general, your philosophy and your view of the world, right? Then that can start to resolve now. If things have been feeling like they just haven't made sense in any of those areas, then you can find the information and maybe have the conversations now that allow you to move forward with plans and projects, right, in those areas. Venus can bring pleasure and a sense of harmony over the next few weeks as well. Maybe like a trip is finally feeling like it's coming together, or plans for some kind of a course that you wanted to take or design or teach, or some kind of publishing opportunity or engagement can see the light of day and be well received under this influence. And then we've got Mars traveling through your 12th house. And so that can bring a lot of drive to spiritual pursuits, for example, or it can have you spending a lot of energy in solitude and rest and relaxation. Which seems like a paradox there, right? Spending energy on rest, but you know what I mean. You can feel like you need to take action, even regarding your spiritual life, your connection to spirit. There can be a lot going on behind the scenes that other people are not witnessing or not privy to right now. There can be lots of activities centered around places like treatment centers, detention facilities, hospitals, spiritual retreat centers, that kind of thing. If that's something that is part of your experience. So there can be lots of activity in those areas. All right, moving on now to Gemini. Gemini, we've got Mercury and Venus in your 10th house. Mercury moving forward in the 10th, bringing some clarity to your career, to your public persona and reputation, to your status, right? To your relationship to authority. There may have been some confusion surrounding, could be something like a job title or a name change even. Some career matter might have felt like it was treading water a bit even and not getting anywhere over the last little while. So now this fog will lift gradually and you can gain a greater sense of momentum when it comes to, your career, your ambitions, your achievements, your status, your relationship to authority. If there's been some confusing stuff going on with like a government organization even, then that can clear up. And then with Venus moving into that house, you can attract some positive attention, right, to those things, to your public attention, to your career, you can get a boost from some authority right now. You can be seen in favorable light in a public way under this influence. Maybe even attracting romance through career as well. And then Mars is moving into your house of self, your first house. So there can be lots of attention, activity, drive on the self over this influence. So maybe lots of appointments going on, right? It could be anything. It could be appointments for, hairdresser, like the spa, the doctor even, I don't know, lots of different appointments. You can be driven to kind of improve your image right now and your sense of self and sense of self-acceptance. Who you are seen as, right? Your image and your self-image may get a boost right now. Be brave, be courageous in terms of your self-image, but don't be overly risky under this Mars influence. Don't take chances that could result in physical injury, for example. So that's for you, Gemini. And moving on to Taurus now. Taurus, we have Mercury and Venus moving through Pisces in your 11th house, bringing increased clarity, increased momentum to your friendship groups and your any kind of groups that you belong to or are associated with, even online groups it could be as well. And also to your long-term plans and visions for the future, what you wish for. Even, this can be about who's on your team. Like the 11th house can be who supports you, who are your benefactors. So if there's been some confusion, some deceit even, or some just feeling of general lethargy in relation to those things, that can start to be resolved now for you, Taurus. You may uncover or be offered some information that fills in the gaps, right? With Mercury moving direct, that allow you to make more sense of what's been transpiring in terms of groups, friendships, all of those things that I mentioned, or in terms of your long-term vision, your long-term goals for the future. And then Venus moving in there can have you enjoying spending time in groups now more, and having that being just more loving and feelings of abundance and pleasure. Maybe even finding love in a group setting or doing something creative or artistic in a group setting. Just more harmony and pleasure in groups in general is on offer for you with Venus there. And then Mars is moving through your second house. So that can bring a lot of action and attention to your finances, to your resources, to your feelings of self-worth, and to what you value in general, right? Even your material possessions over the next 6 weeks or so while Mars is moving through there. So You may be really driven to get your finances in order, for example. You could be taking action around those things. Even around getting your basic needs met as possible in the second house, because it is the house of, our survival kind of thing. This is a good time to take some risks, being assertive and courageous, but not impulsive and aggressive in terms of those second house things, your resources and etc. that I mentioned. Just make sure you're not biting off more than you can chew there, right? With that Gemini influence. And one last thing, Taurus, this could also bring variety in how you earn money right now with Gemini in the second house. Or sorry, with Gemini in the second house, but with Mars moving through there. So last but not least, we've got Aries. And Aries, Mercury is moving direct and being joined by Venus in your 12th house. So have you been in a bit of a fog over the last little while, Aries? Have you been maybe persona non grata, kind of spending a lot of time in solitude, feeling maybe spiritually confused? Or it could even be maybe that you've had a greater connection with spirit. You've been spending a lot of time connecting with spirit. There may have been some struggle with self-defeating behaviors, with unconscious stuff, with a sense of feeling disconnected, potentially even battling some inner demons. If that's been the case for you, then that can start to lift right now, and some clarity can start to return in regards to those things. Or you just, maybe if you've been spending a lot of time alone, you start to come out in public a little bit more. You could have really been spending a lot of time literally behind closed doors, right? And then Venus is going to move into your 12th house, or is in there right now as you're listening to this, encouraging a sense of compassion and gentleness and abundance, and artfulness, in terms of all of those 12th house areas that I just spoke to. And then Aries, we've got Mars, your ruler, moving into the 3rd house. So you can be a lot more focused and busy with daily communications, right, than you have been for a while. So if you have been spending a lot of time in solitude and sort of disconnected from the world in a way, you may be coming back out into the world, and there's a lot of catching up to do, perhaps, or a lot of communications that are happening. There can be a lot of back and forth, a lot of conversations, meetings, ideas, thoughts, writing, all of that. Communications with peers, siblings, the people that, are in your close environment. And those communications can be very action-oriented at this time. Again, and they can be very passionate, right, with Mars there. Be assertive, not aggressive, when it comes to your communications under this influence. Just guard against being, overly bold, overly harsh, saying things before you think it through, kind of thing. Just be cautious of that. It is really a good time to articulate, though, what you need and want, right? As long as you're just mindful of doing that in, like I said, an assertive, not an aggressive way. So that is that. That's all 12 signs. And I hope that has given you some insight into this Mercury retrograde and, how things are going to move forward for us over the next few weeks. And please come back and join me next week here. And if you've got some input in terms of the question I asked at the beginning about the videos and the written horoscopes and that kind of thing, please do reach out. I'd love to know what you think. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button. That's all very helpful, and I really appreciate it. Okay, take good care. Bye-bye.